Of all the podcasts out there, you decided to click on this one. And hopefully it's because our podcast name says it all. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Wells Said podcast with Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells.
Thank you, Randy. Looking forward to it. This is new for all of us.
And I'm Randy Warren, the Public Information Officer here at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, we've been wanting to do this for some time, to give you the opportunity to casually go into more detail on topics and just chat about the things that we know that our listeners, people in our community, and really beyond, because we hope that we get people tuning in from all over the place, will hopefully find interesting. You know, I was thinking, Sheriff, with the exception of the people who are at events where you speak here locally, most people only get to hear from you in sound bites. Maybe it's a press conference or a quote in a publication, and there's certainly been some great ones through the years. This is just yet another way for us to share information. We're going to bring in studio guests. We're going to be hearing from Captain Brad Johnson here coming up in just a bit. The Well Said podcast, now obviously a play on words off of your name, is a new platform for us, and we're just excited to be here.
That's right. I think it's important for us to pick topics that affect people's lives, that citizens want to know more about or they want to hear about. And, you know, we want to give them, you know, like the old dragnet, nothing but the facts. Let's give them the real information. What's going on out here in our community? What are the deputies doing? What are the deputies facing? There's a lot going on in Manatee County, and it's a lot bigger than it was when I grew up here. A lot has changed, and they face a lot more adversity than I had to 41 years ago now. And we just want to make sure that citizens, number one, have all the information they need. And I want them to know the important work that the men and the women of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office are doing out here each and every day. I want to spotlight them.
Absolutely.
This is really not about me.
Right.
I want to spotlight them.
And I know you're that way. That's anyone who knows Sheriff Rick Wells knows you do make it about the people, and you're concerned about our community. And you've made it very clear, too, in a lot of the speeches that you give about the state of Manatee County, which we're proud to say is good.
Absolutely. So, you know, we every day, and Brad will talk about this as well, we wake up first thing in the morning, if we were not woke up during the night, and we are talking about crime. Right? We're talking about how we can be more proactive, how we're going to solve crime, prevent crime trends that are happening, how we're going to attack those trends. So the whole day is just about doing everything we can to keep our citizens safe and to arrest those that are victimizing the citizens of Manatee County. So we're always looking at numbers. And what I'm most proud about, if you just go back to 2017 when I was first elected, 2017 to 2024, we don't have all of 25 in yet, obviously. They've been able to decrease crime in Manatee County by 21%. Now, Randy, if you throw in the population,
right,
that crime rate has dropped to 39%. Because as you know, the population growth in Manatee County has just blown up, you know, last 4 to 5 years. And, you know, and we're responsible for that growth. It doesn't matter how many people we have living in Manatee County. Excuse me, Brad and I are responsible for making sure that people are safe.
Right, and it has increased in our careers, and I'm coming up on 30 years, and you've been doing this for 40-plus years in total law enforcement, and Captain Johnson has been doing this a long time, too. We've seen it almost double. I'd be pretty safe to say.
Absolutely.
We're almost at 460,000 people, and that's counting the cities, but, you know, we're responsible for the whole county. And a lot of that growth is right out in the area that the commander of our 3rd district has to handle every day.
Yeah, and that's why Brad is here, because if you look at the county, the north end, the east side of the county, that's where we see the most growth. That's what Brad is responsible for. He has done an incredible job of keeping up with the growth and the crime, and there's a lot going on. And I just want Brad to talk about, some of the things that he has done and implemented as a district captain. Look, district captains are responsible for their districts. We have 3 districts, right? East side, west side, and north side. And those captains are responsible for the crime that's occurring in their district. And then they have to report to me. When things are going bad, Brad will tell you, I'm going to be calling him. And I hear Brad on the radio all the time. I hear him on the weekends because I'm out on the weekends. So I know that he's always on top of things. And when I call him on a Saturday, he already knows what I'm going to talk to him about because he's been paying attention. So I thought it was important to bring Brad in today just to go over just what the challenges that we face, on the east end and the north end, everything east of I-75 as the growth is incredible. And the north side, it seems like every day when we leave our homes, we live in that area, we have a new development being built. So, that's why Brad's here, and I want him to talk about some of the things, some of the challenges that he faces in that district.
Captain, welcome.
Good morning.
He's also the best-looking captain at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. That's why he's here, too.
So tell us a little about yourself. You're a California boy who became a Florida man?
Yep. California native.
Not really Florida man in the way, you see it advertised all the time.
Yeah, but Florida is home now. Grew up in California, Central California. Had a great childhood, lived all over the state growing up, went to school in the Bay Area, went to school in San Diego after the fact. I was a teacher before I got into law enforcement, but I married a Florida girl, and
Good choice.
Best choice of my life, best decision I ever made. And we had just had our first son, CJ, and it was just before the height of that. It was 2006, 2007. Housing prices are going up in San Diego, and we wanted to be closer to family. So she got a job working for Manatee County government. And at the time I was teaching, so I told her we can go anywhere. I could teach and coach and kind of work my way into a school. Came out here for a year and eventually made my way to the sheriff's office. Second best decision I ever made. I love it here. We've got amazing people doing incredible things every day. It's just awesome organization. I'm not sitting here saying it just because the sheriff is sitting next to me. Right. I love this place. And I have fun every single day here. It's a great profession. And I hope more young folks realize the great works that they could do if they come and work for us at the sheriff's office.
And I think what's unique, Sheriff, and certainly this is true with a lot of our people, is Captain Johnson has worked his way up. You were in a civilian role when you first started with us. Yep. And you obviously saw something in him, and he's, gotten to where he is and got a lot of responsibility as a result of that.
Yeah, I think, Brad, when you come from different areas of the business world, I think, being a teacher, being a coach, he knows how to talk to people. He has a calm demeanor about him. So when you're facing issues out here and you're talking to some irate citizen who's not happy about something, he's has a calming effect.
Do we get those?
We get a few about every minute. But we have to. A lot of times when you're discussing issues with a citizen who's not happy, they just want the information, and they don't always have the information, or they don't have the correct information. So if we can talk to them, we can usually get them to understand this is why we're doing what we're doing, or this is why we can't do what you want us to do. So I want to get back into those numbers, because when Brad is talking about crime in his district, everything that we look at, it's UCR, right? It's the Uniform Crime Report. That's how we focus and gauge our numbers and how we're doing or how bad we're doing. So we're looking at the homicide, rape, sexual batteries, robbery, ag assaults, burglaries, larcenies, and vehicle thefts. Those are our main areas of focus. That's what we're trying to combat. And when he talks about larcenies, larcenies include retail theft. Yeah. Okay, well, there's not a lot that Brad and I can do about retail theft. Unless we put a deputy in every single store in Manatee County, it's hard for us to be proactive and prevent retail theft. That's really up to the retailers. How do you want your store to be secure? Do you have loss prevention? But we get the after effect. We're going to get that call when we have someone that goes in there and steals, an item from a Walmart. We take a hit on that, even though we can't prevent it unless we're standing there. So sometimes the numbers may look bad, but they're not as bad as they appear, because a retail theft is not something we can really do much about, right? And that's aggravating. So we're gonna take a hit on the crime stats, but there's nothing we can do really to keep that from occurring. Now, we talk to the retailers, we try to educate, we try to help us help you. Some are very open to that, some are not. Enough said by me. Let's let Brad just kind of go into what challenges he has faced since becoming the District 3 captain.
Well, I think both of you touched on the exponential growth we've had in District 3. Everything north of the Manatee River and everything east of the interstate, county line to county line. Manatee County is 750 square miles, and I feel very safe in saying that District 3 encompasses probably 550 of it.
Yeah,
so 2/3 to maybe even 3/4 of the county is District 3. Now, granted, the zones that we call North 50 and 60 are largely agricultural, rural, not developed yet, but almost every other piece of District 3 is under some kind of development. And going back to when Sheriff came into office several years ago, you saw the growth go from 380,000 folks. We're now at 460, and depending on the time of year, with folks coming down for the winter season and visitors. I mean, there people on the roadways. There could be 500,000 people in the county at any given time. So we deal with the challenges of providing services to them all year round. It's interesting, if you go on mymanatee.org, you can go to the planning department. You can work your way toward an interactive map, and you can look at all the proposed developments and or developments that have been rezoned for either commercial or residential. Right, almost all of North 20, North 30, North 40, North 70. They're all the new developments are highlighted red. So the vast majority of District 3 is all red because we've had so much growth. As of yesterday, I think there was well over 50 new housing developments in the D3 sector.
Wow.
Typically in North 20, North 30, North 40, North 70. So that puts a strain on our resources because we want to provide and respond to calls for service as quickly as we can and provide them with the services that the taxpayers are paying for. But we have a large distance to cover as well. So it's definitely a challenge for our men and women on a daily basis.
With all that real estate, how many deputies do we have out on a given day?
Well,
right now.
We're really lucky. This past Sunday, we just had another FTEP class finished. So,
which is new recruits,
yep,
so new deputies.
Recruits. Sorry, I should clarify that for our viewers and listeners. So, District 3, we have 6 patrol squads, and every squad has 10 deputies. Every squad has a sergeant. So, say now you have 11, and then I have 4 patrol lieutenants, and we have overlapping shifts, 6A to 6P. And we have a 3 p.m. shift that comes on. It goes till 3 a.m. And then we have a 7 p.m. shift. So at any given time, there's possibly 12 to 13 deputies working. When we have the overlap, there's 22 to 24 folks in the field. I also have 2 additional units, our community-oriented policing units, Cops North and Cops Rural, and they supplement our patrol efforts during the week, typically Tuesday through Thursday. But they flex their hours based on trends. So they could be coming in late, they could be coming in early. It just depends on the crime that we have occurring in our district. So there's 83 total law enforcement deputies that work out at District 3.
In probably another podcast, maybe the next one we do, we're going to get into talking about a lot of the stuff that we analyze, that we look at, that helps us in deciding how we want to do our scheduling so that you can strategize on the areas we need to hit. Like we'll get into that, very specifically. But that is something you just got to be flexible with. So we know we've got some crime trends, and you kind of touched on that. We see the auto burglaries that we talk about all the time, and then all of a sudden we just start attacking that with the community-oriented policing and other things that we have.
Yeah. So the cops north, guys, the community-oriented policing are essentially the firemen for the district, and each district has a group of has a cops unit that when we have these issues flare up in different spots throughout the county, they get tasked with trying to identify the MO, follow up. Do we have suspects? If we have suspects, how are we going to develop charges and thwart their efforts to continue committing those criminal acts? So those guys, I love them to death, but I do have to yank their schedule around periodically. So it's 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. for them, but on a moment's notice, it could be 4 p.m. to 4 a.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., or even going forward, 10 a.m. It just depends. So with that position comes the knowledge that this could happen to their schedule, but they also have a little more freedom than patrol deputies per se. They're sector wide, and they can cover everything in the D3 sector if need be.
So you have to understand, Randy, when we go back 2007, 2008, Sheriff Stubbe is in office. Sheriff Stubbe's first budget, he has to cut positions. The recession has hit. Right. Yeah. The housing market has crashed. We've got abandoned homes all over Manatee County, so the revenue's not there. So personnel-wise, we're still trying to catch up from those years where Sheriff Stubbe had to really fight to get positions. So I'm very happy that our commissioners here in Manatee County understand the importance of public safety. They have worked very hard to really, give me what I need to protect this county. But it's kind of like when you're on the interstate and one car is doing 20 miles an hour and it backs up traffic, for 10 miles.
Yeah.
So that backed us up 10 years.
Yep.
We're still trying to catch up, and we're getting there. But, Brad was a lieutenant over cops long ago. And when we talk about trends, we had this trend where bad guys from St. Pete would steal a vehicle in Pinellas County. They would come to Manatee County, break into some more cars, steal a car here, and then go back to Pinellas. And the reason why we knew that was happening because they would always leave the stolen vehicle from Pinellas County here for us to recover. So we got tired of that. So Brad took his unit. We go to the interstate. We have a license plate reader. We know that as soon as that stolen car is coming across the skyway to come over here in Manatee County and wreak havoc. I think the first week, Brad, we had like 2 or 3 pursuits. We shut it down, right? But that's how you have to attack it. So the next thing we know, we're hearing from our friends in Hillsborough County and like Pasco County. They're getting mad because the criminals are not coming to Manatee County. Now they're going north because they got tired of seeing us there waiting for them. So
yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
And I remember some reporters saying, "Why are you guys posted right there by the toll booth, or just probably a little south or east of that?"
Right.
And like you're saying, yeah, it's just some proactive action that's making a difference.
But there was a crime trend that we recognized had to be stopped. You attack it. You hopefully displace it, move on to the next trend. That's what we do every day. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about vehicle burglaries, that's what I get upset because, really a criminal only needs 3 things to commit a crime. They have to have a desire to commit the crime, the ability, and the opportunity. And most of the time, there's not much we can do about their desire or their ability. But citizens, we can try to at least limit the opportunity that they have. And one thing that we can all do is every night before we go into our home, we remove our personal belongings from the vehicle and lock it. We
Sure
had,
do.
and Brad and I have watched hundreds and hundreds of videos, ring videos and different videos from the home of a citizen that's been burglarized or attempted. We can tell you what they do. It's real simple. These bad guys just get out of a car, 3, 4, 5 of them. They walk down our streets just checking door handles. If a car is unlocked, they go in. If it's locked, they move on to the next one most of the time.
Because it's easy.
Because it's easy and they're quiet. They're not really at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're not trying to smash out a window. They're trying to be covert. So, and if we just lock our doors and take that laptop, and most importantly, take out your gun.
Right.
We've had a big issue over the years, guns being left in vehicles unlocked, guns being stolen and used in other crimes. So it's something that we can prevent. And Brad and I and others, we just keep talking about it. We just continue to try to educate, the citizens to think about helping us with that. Because we can truly eliminate that opportunity if we just work a little harder together.
And it's a message that we have shared many, many times, we'll continue to do. And you have an opportunity to also get into a lot of these communities. You probably safe to say, Sheriff, more HOAs, more organized communities within your district. What are the messages you're trying to get to them, which is obviously lock your car, but sometimes we come up with other concerns as well.
Yeah. So whatever the issue of that HOA meeting might be, I always somehow weave in, please make sure you lock your car, right? And exactly what the sheriff said. Got to take the guns out, got to take your valuables out, got to take your key fobs out, because that's a recent trend where it's a great problem. I don't want to say it's a great problem. It's wonderful that our folks in our community feel safe enough where they don't have to lock their doors, but they need to lock their doors, right? We live in a very safe community. Our folks are doing a great job. We have low crime numbers, as the sheriff just mentioned, but I don't want anybody to get lulled into a false sense of security, because, as Sheriff mentioned, somebody coming from another area can come down here and easily be in and out of your car in 5 seconds or less, open the center console, grab your valuables, and they are moving on in the dead of night. But going back to your question, the HOAs have a plethora of questions, and those questions that citizens have, their concerns are our concerns. Sheriff and I are both residents of District 3. Not only just District 3 concerns, but anything that happens in this county are our concerns, and we want to ensure that we are responding to their calls for service and helping them. And if it can be as simple as us being a mediator between two parties, between neighbors, between adults and children, we're more than happy to be mediators. So one of the other messages that I often convey is call us. Please call us.
Right.
We always get, I know our deputies get on a daily basis, well, I didn't want to call you. It's really not that important. No, it is important. If it's important to you, you should call us. We had 350,000 calls for service last year, and our supervisors do a great job of triaging those. So we're going to respond to the high priority in progress calls and send multiple units to those. But if you have an issue in your neighborhood, you need to call. We will be more than happy to come out. And if it's civil, we can explain it, just like the sheriff said earlier. We can try to adjust these issues, talk to you professionally, tell you what we can or can't do about it. But please call. We would love to come out and try to help you with the issues that are plaguing your community.
And it's like the adage that you see in the signs too. If you see something, say something. But we need to know so we can document it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are hesitant to call because they're not sure if this person is suspicious or if a crime is about to be committed. Let us figure that out. That's our job. So just call us. We'll take care of it. And if it's not a crime, they'll handle it. And they can move on and go to the next call. But that's our job. When I look at crime stats, I think about if we just locked our cars
right
over this same time period, the last 8 years, we could be down 50%.
Wow.
Easy.
Yeah.
50%, so that's really, how important it is for us, for people just to take a couple of minutes. And it may not seem like a big deal at the time, But when someone steals a gun out of an unlocked vehicle and uses it in a crime that we have to
That's just
respond
reckless.
to, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard on us knowing that that homicide, that ag assault could have been prevented. And a lot of times these are juveniles that are getting their hands on these guns, and that's even more frightening to us.
And Captain, you have probably a greater range of terrain. You can go from, like you say, your rural cops, and that's those that are handling agricultural crimes. They could be dealing with a cow that's out in the middle of a road in Mayaca City, and then answering, having to go to a domestic or doing a traffic stop. And then we could be in a golf course community. We could be inside one of the country clubs, in a matter of minutes. So it's just a big range that you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's definitely a big melting pot. Yesterday morning, we were at Parish Community High School. Cops Rural was wrangling an alligator on school grounds and moving it. But you're right. We have issues in gated communities, golf carts, e-bikes, and then the other end of the spectrum. We have the unlocked vehicle burglaries overnight, which is predominantly. We still have retail theft issues, as the sheriff mentioned earlier. So it's suburban, it's urban, it's rural and agriculture. We have everything at District 3.
Have you ever wrangled an alligator?
I have not, Sheriff. I don't think I ever will either.
So Rob Hendrickson and that unit, that ag unit, they do everything. I call him the mayor of Mayaca City.
Yes.
He answers all the calls out there. Whatever someone needs, they just call Sergeant Hendrickson. But I mean, he captures rattlesnakes, alligators, possums, whatever the issue is. And I don't think a lot of people know that they're like a mini FWC out there. They handle all of those type of calls, and then they may also be, responding to a domestic out there. So they really cover the entire gamut out east in Mayaca City, and it should be that way. We want to make sure that we have as much coverage in Mayaca City as we do in West Bradenton, right?
Even though it's hundreds of square miles,
That's
they could be down there, Sugar Bowl Road, down by Sarasota, DeSoto County, and then be out by the jail, later the same day, in Port Manatee. So obviously a lot of real estate. And I think the point that we're trying to make too, in talking about the daily stuff we're doing, is that we're creating conversation. We want people to know, yes, pick up the phone, call us, message us. We want people to know about our social platforms, how to get a hold of us. We have district offices that have a deputy there. We refer to him as our telephone reporting unit, but somebody who could walk in if they have a concern. We also have a substation that's out there, and that we use our selective enforcement. We'll talk about that probably later on. And they're staying there kind of more or less for their offices, but still that substation is a great opportunity for someone who has needs or just some questions. Never fear approaching us. And even if you see a deputy sitting somewhere, I mean, we invite that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Absolutely. Last week at one of the HOA meetings, I received a ton of information that I might not have ever received just by going out and talking to them and then sticking around after and talking to folks about some of the issues that were plaguing their community and where some of these offenders may or may not be. So the more contact we have with you, the better. We need information. We need intel. With intel, we can do research, and intel provides us leads, possibly, depending on what the crime is, and hopefully could eventually lead to prosecution and probable cause for, if we're talking about unlocked vehicle burglaries as an example. But folks that are living in communities have the most inside information, and we want them to call us.
Very well said. We're going to say that a lot. Anyway, we wanted to try to keep this thing down to about 30 minutes so that you can tune in and find us on all the various platforms. And we're going to be promoting it a lot as to where you can find the Well Said podcast and all the stuff that we're going to try to feature and discuss things that are coming up and a lot of things that will relate to the people that live in the north and east part of our county. because we want people to understand a little bit more about us, even if they're getting a little bit of the personal side in a very casual setting. So follow us on our social platforms, Manatee Sheriff. Do you know, Sheriff, I think there's only one Manatee County in the entire country. I've never found another one. So maybe somebody can challenge me on that. There is no other Manatee County that I'm aware of. A Manistee, I think, somewhere up north, and there's some others. So we're easy to find. You can find us ManateeSheriff.com, Manatee Sheriff on Facebook, Manatee County Sheriff for whatever reason on our Instagram, and Manatee Sheriff on our X platform. And we're going to listen to the messages that you send us. Also, if you have suggestions, folks that are listening, and we hope that you'll be spreading the word and telling your friends about the Well Said podcast with Sheriff Rick Wells and guests. Tell your friends that this is a good place to kind of hear a conversation that you wouldn't normally hear.
I think that's perfect, Randy. Thanks for teaching an old dog new tricks. This is new to me. I'm glad that Brad was here for our first episode. But I do want citizens to send us any topics that they would like us to discuss. Things that I always tell people, when you got me at a meeting, ask me any question you've always wanted the answer to, but you've never asked a law enforcement officer. Ask us. If you want us to discuss it during this podcast, that's what we'll do. And it's all about educating and informing our citizens.
And we're very open about how to get a hold of us. You can go to our website. Again, that's the best place because we have email addresses out there, unlike some places. You can click on Captain Johnson's picture and you'll get to his email if you needed to. Or, reach out to us here in the Public Information Office, PIO. Stands for Public Information Office.
Really?
Or officer. Okay. Well, could go either way. Right? PIO at ManateeSheriff.com, or you can find my email on there as well. And we want to hear from you so that we can respond to it. We get our social media messages. We get plenty of phone calls every day. We've got from the news media to just the general public reaching out to us. Thank you, Captain.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you did great on our very first episode, and I think people learned a lot, and it's always good for me to hear too, because I get hit with a lot of questions.
Thanks for putting all this together. It's been a long journey, and hopefully it'll be productive, and we can give people some insight of what's going on here each and every day at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
Well said. For Sheriff Rick Wells, I'm Randy Warren. We'll talk to you next time.